Which NFL playoff contenders are frauds and which are for real with a chance to compete for the Super Bowl? We already did the AFC. Now we got to cover the NFC. We're covering 5 teams in the NFC where we got to start at the very top of the NFC. The team that currently sits number 1 seed in the NFC, the Bears, man. The 9-3 Chicago Bears sitting in first place in the NFC North and in the NFC as a whole. Rookie head coach Ben Johnson has completely turned this franchise around, led to growth from year 2 quarterback Caleb Williams, and there's a lot of good pieces on this roster surrounding them. However, there is concerns with this defense, and with some close wins versus bad teams this year, has people wondering if the Chicago Bears are for real or fraud. So, fellas, answer that question. Are the Bears for real or are they frauds?
I'll give you my answer at probably 6:45 December 7th.
Oh, my gosh.
That's my answer. Because if they go into Lambeau and finally get that off their back, that's their Achilles heel. The Bears going to Lambeau. You beat the Packers there. You're pretty much in control of it at that point. That is the telltale sign of if the Bears are for real. As of right now, I'm leaning more the other way. I'm leaning towards the fraudulent side. Now, they did dominate the Eagles, but the Eagles haven't looked good in weeks. The Eagle victory, I think, is blowing things out of proportion. I think people are starting to get a little extra hyped up. But the rest of their schedule has been against pretty much bums. Raiders, dog water. Commanders without Jay, I'm pretty sure Jay Nails hurt in that game. Dog water. They won by 1 point in both of those games. The Saints, dog water. They lost to the Ravens, who don't look good right now. They beat the Bengals by 5. Bengals are dog water. They beat the Giants by 4. Giants are dog water. Beat the Vikings by 2. Dog water. The Steelers by 3. The Steelers are dog water. The Eagles don't look good. I am going to say fraudulent right now, and I am willing to apologize Sunday evening, December 7th, if the Bears go into Lambeau and win. If they don't, I'm going to come on here and I'm going to laugh.
I'm on the same boat for now. I know it's crazy me not I'm usually very bold with this, but with the Bears, it's just a very big confliction. You want to know something actually? No, I'm going to go ahead and say they're fraud. And I know this is crazy to say because they have an incredible run game. They do. They have an incredible run game, right? But their pass game, Caleb Williams has been inconsistent this year. The defense hasn't been that good this year either. They've had their moments. I think there's a lot of bad being masqueraded by their record right now. I really do believe their point differential right now isn't that impressive. They've beaten teams like the Raiders by 1, the Commanders by 1, the Bengals by 5, the Giants by 4. And I know the Giants have been actually a tough out to a lot of teams, but still, it's the Giants. But Minnesota, you're gonna let 9 hang with you? 9? Are you serious? JJ McCarthy set that franchise back, by the way. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers are just not impressive. And even with the Eagles, it's really hard. There hasn't really been a true litmus test to how good the Bears truly are, because they've really faced either teams that aren't good, teams that are beyond washed, or teams that just are have struggled. You know what? I haven't seen a true dominant performance. I know the Eagles game was impressive, but is it really that impressive if we knew the Eagles were struggling to begin with? Was it really that impressive? The narrative around the Eagles up until that, we'll get to them in a second. It wasn't good, and for that, I need to see a lot more from the Bears. I need to see improvements in other areas. So for that, I'll say fraud.
I'm going to respond to both of you guys real quick. First of all, Sammy, you saying was the win against the Eagles really that impressive? Yes, it was, because of how they did it, because they dominated them so much on the line of scrimmage, because they had 2 100-yard rushers, because they ran for 250 yards, and because Caleb Williams, like you said, he didn't play well in that game. He had the one throw rolling out to his left to Cole Kmet for the touchdown. Other than that, he did not play well, and they still controlled that game from start to finish because Ben Johnson has schemed up such an amazing run game, because they have 2 really solid backs, and because that offensive line is really good. And Joe, to respond to your point, you said, I got to wait to see if they can beat the Packers in Green Bay. Well, week 18 last year, you want to know what happened in Green Bay? Okay. The Bears were on a 27 game losing streak or whatever it was. Okay. And they still went into Green Bay and beat Jordan Love.
Week 18 doesn't matter.
It does when you beat the Packers, baby. And that
Oh
gave
my
them the
God.
momentum to come into this year. But also, by the way, if you want to look at the Packers and Bears history, it's wild. They've played 210 times in these two teams' history. So it's crazy. But I'm pretty sure the Packers are also 28-6 in the last 34 games. So they have dominated this series. So like you mentioned, Joe, it is an important game, but still, okay. The Bears beat them the last
Week
time in
18
Green Bay.
doesn't count.
It literally
Doesn't
does. Like on the actual win-loss record, it literally counts. But to my point, okay, I was huge on the Bears preseason. You guys both know this, okay? I picked them to win the North, and I'm going to continue knocking on wood here for them to win the North because, like you mentioned, Sammy, it's kind of felt like a magic carpet ride that they're on right now. Like they're just winning all these one-score games. Caleb Williams is coming up clutch in the end. You don't know how they're doing it, but they keep doing it. And if this was before the Eagles game, I probably would have said frauds because of that. But that Eagles game versus the defending Super Bowl champions versus that defense in a cold, windy game where Caleb Williams didn't play well at all, dominated the line of scrimmage, ran for 1,000,000 yards. They won a playoff style football game against a playoff football team, the team that won the Super Bowl last year. Again, I don't believe they're going to get the 1 seed here, but I still believe they're going to win this division. And when they get to the playoffs, if that defense can step up a little bit, they have the offensive line, they have the run game, plus an elite offensive play caller in Ben Johnson and a quarterback that, like I said, or like you said, Sammy, has been inconsistent, but he can go Superman mode at times. He can make plays that not a lot of other quarterbacks can make. And in a playoff game, when you have that guy, that's very, very valuable. So I think the Bears are for real. And I think the Chicago Bears can contend for a Super Bowl. I could see them in the NFC Championship game this year, fellas. I really could. But another team that I personally believe is for real, Joe, I know you believe this team is for real as well. The Seattle Seahawks, 9-3, currently sitting second in the NFC West. Since they lose the tiebreak to the Los Angeles Rams, they're currently sitting at second. But a team whose offense behind Sam Darnold and JSN has shocked with how good they've been, and a defense that hasn't shocked anyone because it's been one of the best in the NFL, like we expected it was. So, Joe, I already know your answer. I want to hear from Sammy first. Sammy, are the Seahawks frauds or are the Seahawks for real?
I am so close to calling this team a fraud. I'm so unbelievably close. And I understand, right? It's crazy. They only lost to the Rams by 2 points, right? Their defense is dominant. They just shut out the Vikings. Not that impressive, but you shut out the Vikings. You shut out an NFL team, right? How could you call them frauds? You know who their quarterback is? Do you know who it is? It's Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold, you guys know, he sees ghosts in big games. He always does against any team. Not just the Rams. Not just the Rams. Are you kidding me? But let me go ahead and say this though. I'm gonna say they're for real. And the reason why I'm gonna say they're for real is because Mike Macdonald is a damn good coach. I think he's a top 3 coach in the entire NFL. He is anchoring one of the best defenses in the entire league. They have the best wide receiver in football right now. Okay, with an amazing wide receiving core, an improving offensive line, and a run game that is stout. All of that is good going for me to say they're for real. With that being said, will they make it to like a Super Bowl? No, absolutely not, because they're going to be facing QBs that thrive under pressure, much better under pressure. And look, Sam Darnold, he needs to prove it to me. And he should be needing it to prove it to you, Matt, and to you at home, and to especially you, Joe. Okay, to all of you, he needs to be able to prove it. I'm not gonna let Sam Darnold, like with his 9-3 record. Oh, the Seahawks have a chance to go all the way. Man, as soon as you stop seeing ghosts and start seeing winning, and when it really matters, I will sing your praises. Okay, but until then, Matt, Joe, I'm gonna say they're for real, but it's gonna be in spite of Sam Darnold.
Okay, I'll double down. I'm going to say they're for real because of Sam Darnold.
Oh,
I like Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold is showing who he can be. He's going to be good for this team. I think that, you got his first playoff action ever, right? And we're chatting. He caves in big games. He's played one big game his entire career, and he damn near got his head twisted off by the Rams in an end zone on a face mask penalty. It wasn't called. Let's be 100% fair to the man. He's had one big game his entire career, and we're going to sit here and judge him on it. Not happening. I think he got his playoff experience. Maybe it took him a few years, but we already had this conversation. We might as well just take the first 3 years of Sam Darnold's career and just throw him out the window. 3-4 years, just toss him out the window because he was with trash organizations, with trash offensive coordinators, and trash supporting cast. Sam Darnold is going to help this team to the NFC Championship game, and this defense is going to get them to a Super Bowl berth. For real as real can get.
Love it. Love it. Sam Darnold, man. Joe, you've been big on this Sam Darnold train. You really have. And I agree with you, Joe. I think they're for real. I said it a couple weeks ago that I don't know if I can see Sam Darnold winning 3 road playoff games to take the Seahawks to the Super Bowl, but I still don't see him doing that. But I could see 2, depending on the matchup. And, obviously a lot of playoffs and a lot of sports in general are determined on the matchup. Styles make fights. But this defense, like you talked about, Sammy, this defense is too damn good. Okay. The JSN is too damn good. The running game continues to improve. Kenneth Walker's getting more and more work by the week. And though the last 3 weeks for Sam Darnold haven't been his best football for sure, again, he's kind of been up and down the last 3 weeks. I think he can play well enough for them to get to a conference title game. I believe they're for real. But a team that should be for real was 100% for real last year. However, we just talked about it, hasn't looked for real, especially the last couple of weeks, fellas. The 8-4 Philadelphia Eagles. They've lost 2 straight games to the Bears and to the Cowboys. They're still holding on to the top spot in the NFC East, but the Cowboys are sneaking up on them, and the Eagles haven't looked like the same team as their Super Bowl team from a year ago. So, fellas, are the Eagles flying high fraudulent, or are they flying high for real?
Remember how we said, like, we were talking about some teams on the AFC episode? We're like, this is easy. They're for real. This is easy. They're frauds. This is a fraudulent team. The Eagles have a major problem on offense, and it's because their offensive coordinator feels like he has to silence haters to prove that Jalen Hurts can throw the football when it's not their identity. Now, I get it. Saquon Barkley has not looked great. Matt, you put out a stat on the live the other day that he's averaging like 3.7 yards per carry. Do you know what 3.7 yards per carry is if you hand the ball off to him 3 times? That's the first fucking down. That's what that is, okay? So let's go ahead and just math that out, right? So if you can get a first down just by handing Saquon Barkley the ball, and we've already proven that they're 8-0 on the year when he gets 14 touches because he's a threat. And they're 0-3 when Jalen Hurts throws the ball 30-plus times. What do you think your offensive priority should be? To hell with A.J. Brown's feelings about it. Because you know what football players like to do? They like to win football games. Do you think A.J. Brown's going to look back on the year and go, I had a 100-yard receiving game, when he could have been in another Super Bowl maybe? If that's the way he feels, get him the fuck off the team. Like, I had a conversation the other day with some people about college football. They were like, yeah, man, our team could go 1-11 as long as we beat our rivals. Who gives a shit? Hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley, and you live and die by it, because that's what your team's built to do.
I gotta say, Joe, easy is nuts. Like, easy is crazy. We're talking about the defending champions. I get it, though. I do understand it. I understand it 1,000%, because this team, in general, this team has been underwhelming. The defense, even to start the year, was not as good as it was last year. And it's gotten, better, but after that performance against the Chicago Bears, I mean, one could argue against that. And then the offense has just been bad all year long. Guys, let's have a conversation about Jalen Hurts, okay? It's not that he's a bad QB, okay? He's not bad, okay? He's not trash, but he clearly has limitations, okay? And then on top of that, when he has limitations, and then you have a bad play caller, I mean, last year when they had Kellen Moore, the limitations were still there, but Kellen Moore got the most out of Jalen Hurts because he played on his strengths. It feels like Kevin Patillo is just like trying to make Fields something he's not, and it's hurting Fields. And it's unfortunate, but I will say,
don't you dare call Jalen Hurts Justin Fields. You just called him Fields twice.
Oh, I did?
Disrespect.
40 and slip.
Whoa, hold on. I called him Fields. I mean,
twice.
They both can't really read in the middle of the field, can they? Anyway, I will say this. Ladies and gentlemen, Jalen Hurts is a top 10 QB in this league, okay? He is not Justin Fields. I want to make sure that is very, very clear, okay? I will not slander Justin Hurts to that extent. I will say this, though. I will say this. Look, they're frauds. They're frauds. I say all this just to lead They're frauds, man. I don't trust this offense. I don't trust Kevin Patullo. I think he's going to get fired after this year. It's going to happen after a playoff loss. And then the defense, look, Vic Fangio's done a great job, but that defense that we saw against the Bears, look, there are a lot of teams in the NFC that can run the hell out of the football, okay? And the fact that the Eagles gave that up to, look, and respect to the Bears, okay? The Bears have an amazing run game. But if that can happen, and you have all those teams in the NFC that can run the ball, they're frauds. And I can't believe I'm saying that about a defending Super Bowl champion, Matt.
Yeah, I'm going to ignore the entire Jalen Hurts conversation, and I'm just going to speed to the topic because I don't want to get into an argument here. So let's just speed to if they're fraudulent or not. I think this team is fraudulent as well, fellas. I do. If they had the exact same record, if this team was still 8-4, but their offensive line was healthy and the run game was still good, not even like Saquon rushing for 2,000 yards good, but like a top 8-ish run game in football, I'd say they're for real. But they can't run the football. I put out a short about Saquon Barkley, how he's going from basically 2,000 yards rushing to 1,000 yards rushing this year, and his yards per carry is down by two yards per carry. So it's like the run game is not the same, and apparently they can't run the football, and apparently the defense can't stop the run either. Like the Bears showed the entire world on Black Friday. That's a terrible recipe come playoff time for any team, not just the Philadelphia Eagles, for any team. Plus the drama that we've seen from this team all year, it just feels like things aren't clicking. The organization seems to be just in a weird spot right now. I don't see them making a conference championship game this year. I really don't. This team is still good, but it's not good enough to make the conference championship game in a loaded NFC. But now to one of the teams that Philadelphia beat in last year's Super Bowl run. That's the Green Bay Packers, who are 8-3-1, led by quarterback Jordan Love, are second in the NFC North right now behind the Chicago Bears that we just talked about, with 2 of their next 3 games coming against those Chicago Bears. Very much still alive for the division title, and the Packers are still alive for the number 1 seed. So fellas, the Green Bay Packers, are they frauds or are they for real?
I can't believe I'm about to say this, given what I've said about Jordan Love. But I think this team is for real. I think this team is for real. And I know, look, I said some things about Jordan Love and to Packers fans.
Can you remind the people what you said?
No, we don't need to do that. Okay, this episode's already running long. But I will say, Jordan Love, the way he performed against the Lions, man, it was very impressive. And that's the best I've seen Jordan Love look in a bit. Look, he's throwing to Dontavian Wicks. I understand people want me to say, oh, respect Dontavian Wicks, respect Romeo Doubs. No, okay, no, I'm not going to. You're not going to make me. I will never do that, okay, until they do it consistently. And Jordan Love, he earned my respect, okay? So I did say that he wasn't a top 15 QB. I still don't think he's top 10, but I will rescind my statement that he is not top 15. I believe he is a top 15 QB, and this defense, led by Michael Parsons, is incredible. They have the best front 7 in football. I said it already. I've said it from the beginning of the year. I'm going to say it again. The best front 7 in football. And I think they have an underrated secondary on top of that. So that on top of Matt LaFleur. I know Matt LaFleur gets a lot of flack. I still think Matt LaFleur is a good play caller, okay? I don't care what anybody says. So with that being said, the Packers, in my opinion, are for real. I thought they were for real at the beginning of the season. They were a little shaky in the middle because of their offense, but I trust Matt LaFleur and the process. So the Packers are for real, gentlemen.
I mean, defense is good. They got a good running back. I'm going to say they're for real, but I still hold my caveat. If they lose to the Bears this coming Sunday, it's going to be part of my apology to the Bears is going to be calling the Packers fraudulent, because you lose to the Bears, it's going to be tough to get in. You're already right now, if this playoff started today, you're out. Even with the Micah Parsons trade, even with all of the offensive things that are supposed to be happening, and they've at times looked really bad, and that defense hasn't looked as good as we thought it was going to be at times this season. They're inconsistent. I'm leaning towards for real. You lose to the Bears, I'm jumping to the other side of the fence. December 7th is a massive, massive game.
Big game, without a doubt. And I mean, they got 2 of them. They got 2 of their last 4 or 5 games for each team are against each other. So this one was tough for me, fellas. Obviously, a lot of these are matchup dependent, and you could get, like I was talking about, you get the wrong matchup in the playoffs early and lose. But I do think they're for real. I have concerns about this offense against good defenses. I talked about this on a previous Packers episode. This offense does not perform nearly as well against good defenses, and I'm more questionable about how good the Lions defense is than you, Sammy, because I saw Jameis Winston go into Detroit and throw a pretty big party, a pretty big fiesta on the Detroit Lions defense. So I do think they're for real. I could see them in the conference title game. I'm just not a huge believer in this offense. Like I said, Tucker Kraft's injury is a big one. They're going to miss him a lot down the stretch, I think, as well, especially once these games start getting colder and Jordan Love's looking for his security blanket. But they can be good enough, and we've seen Jordan Love be good in the playoffs before. We saw him dominate the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. We saw him play relatively well against the San Francisco 49ers in a playoff game before losing to the 49ers. But especially with their elite defense, given the other teams in the conference's problems, I think we could see this as one of the final four teams in the NFL. Therefore, I believe they are for real to me. And finally, a team that has had the Packers number in the playoffs in recent years, the 9-4 San Francisco 49ers, that despite the injuries to pretty much everyone on their team at some point, everyone on their team has missed a few games, it feels like, okay, they still have a shot to make the playoffs and could potentially win this division despite a tough last 3 games on their schedule. So fellas, the San Francisco 49ers, are they frauds or are they for real?
They're frauds. This is a fraudulent team. I don't like the skill position players. Brock Purdy hasn't looked like the Brock Purdy we've seen the last couple of years. I think the injury is still hampering him a little bit. I think that, when your best quarterback play is coming from Mac Jones, that's easy to say that if you were to look at this season, who was the best quarterback to put on a 49ers uniform? Mac Jones was the best quarterback to put on a 49ers uniform this year. I don't feel the same way I felt about this team early on in the season. I don't feel the same way I felt about this team, in the last couple of years. Injuries definitely did them in. All right. They got a kicker that's hurt. Brandon Ayuk is going through something. And, you kind of just go down the list. Fred Warner, that was a massive injury. Nick Bosa, massive injury. You start just going down and looking at everyone who's on IR for this team. And if they were all healthy and playing, I would change my answer. They're not. They're not coming back this year. This team is fraudulent. I don't think they're going to go on the road outside of possibly visiting a completely just decimated Buccaneers team and win a football game. And even then, I wouldn't put any money on it because I could still see the Bucs and Baker Mayfield outplaying the 49ers.
This team is a fraud, and it's not because of it's really because of circumstance and not because of I don't have faith in Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan, if this team were fully healthy, I would say this team is one of the most, the 3 most dangerous teams in the NFL. But unfortunately, they don't have everybody healthy. They're banged up like hell. And the fact that they still have the defense still has a pulse with Fred Warner being out. Mind you, they lost Dre Greenlaw this year. He signed with the Broncos. He's balling out. And then Fred Warner goes out for the year. So 2 of the linebackers. Then on top of that, Nick Bosa gets hurt. Unfortunately, that's a common occurrence, but he gets hurt. So many injuries on both sides of the ball, too, because then your starting QB, Brock Purdy, gets hurt. Juwan Jennings has been banged up as well. The 49ers just have way too much going on in terms of injury. And the fact that Brock Purdy isn't playing well. And look, Shanahan has no choice but to play Purdy. Okay, he has no choice. He's paying way too much money, and he's just going to have to hope that that is just part of growing pains. The Niners are frauds, but it's not because of anything that has to do with the team. It has everything to do with the circumstances, and that's the injuries.
I agree with you both, and I do want to give a shout out, like you guys mentioned, to Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh for keeping this defense together, like you mentioned, with all the injuries. He's done an unbelievable job. He's another guy who deserves another opportunity to head coach. Hopefully not for the freaking Jets, because it seems like nobody's a good head coach. Nobody's good at anything for the Jets. Nobody's a good quarterback. Nobody's a good coach. Nobody's good at nothing for the Jets. So I hope he gets an opportunity with a better franchise. Kyle Shanahan doing an unbelievable job this year with that offense because we've seen basically, like I talked about, everyone besides CMC, ironically enough. CMC is the guy who normally gets hurt, but this year he's been completely healthy. Everyone besides him has gone down with some sort of injury for multiple weeks, and this offense has continued to hum. So Kyle Shanahan deserves a lot of credit. Like you guys mentioned, Mac Jones deserves a lot of credit, but they're frauds. I mean, I'm shocked this defense is still competent after losing Warner and Bosa, but I don't think it will be versus good NFC playoff offenses. And just like you guys, I don't like how Brock Purdy's playing right now. He's playing hurt with that toe injury. He's less mobile, and he's making bad decisions in the pocket. We saw in the Panthers game, they got away with it because the Panthers are super super inconsistent, and Bryce Young also has a tendency to make bad decisions and look erratic with the ball at times as well. But overall, Purdy himself is just not talented enough to overcome the flaws that he has in his game right now and the injury. So much respect, like I mentioned, to the Niners for overcoming all these injuries, but I just do not see these San Francisco 49ers making a run in the playoffs this year.
This has been Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details.